All right, so one of the things I want to work with you today is identifying the reasons your backspin or slice might be floating. So we're going to address two key reasons why that's happening. But the first thing I want to address is how is backspin created? And that's a really simple concept that often gets overlooked. So a lot of times what people think is the backspin comes from cutting the ball downwards. And we see a lot of players that will start the racket real high, cut the ball, and because that ball is going to be going into the net, they then counteract by opening up the racket face and kind of creating a scoop angle. So I'm going to show you a couple tips that will simplify that so you no longer have this backspin that just kind of floats but starts penetrating through the court. So a real simple way to kind of explore how backspin is created and get to the fundamental of what's necessary is just to hold your racket like this. If I just throw the ball off of my racket with no movement, we can quickly see what kind of spin am I generating right here. Is it topspin or is it backspin? You can all see it's backspin, right? It's moving away from us but spinning back towards us. We've got backspin. Notice I'm not having to do this to create that action. So right here we have some evidence that we can get backspin by having a open angle. As long as it's semi-open, as soon as we get to here, we lose backspin. We start getting into topspin territory. But as long as it's somewhat open, we're gonna have the ability to get backspin. And you can see I didn't have to do this. So that's the first thing we need to establish. The second thing then is, what kind of path then do we need? Okay, we just need a level path to go through the ball, and we're going to get backspin every single time. It doesn't need to be this gigantic cut down on the ball and then scoop back open. So that's what we're gonna kind of focus on now. So when we're looking to flatten out our path, I like to imagine that I've stuck my racket on a bookshelf. So imagine I've got a bookshelf going across and I'm gonna level across there. There's still gonna be a little bit of high to low. That's just gravity working, so you're not gonna get away from this. But this is what I'm trying to avoid. Racket starting here and coming down, and I'm in the net a lot. And I'm always gonna be in the net with that shot unless I start twisting, and this is kind of what we're trying to avoid, right? The high to low, and then I twist, make the ball get over the net. So if I understand that backspin is created just from a slightly open racket angle, I can just start leveling through, and I'm gonna get a much more effective shot that's gonna penetrate and it's gonna stay low. So I'm coming right through, not thinking of this dramatic high to low scoop, but just thinking level. So let's talk about the right grip to hit a good underspin shot. I personally am somebody that plays a little bit more in a continental when I hit my backspin. But for a lot of players, you're actually gonna be most effective with more of an Eastern grip. And the reason is it's gonna keep your racket from being too open to float. So make sure you're probably somewhere in there. You can adjust, there's not an exact science to the right grip, but make sure you're using something that lets you square the ball up enough that you penetrate. If your racket is at contact is this open, because you're using a continental, it may cause the floating action itself. So make sure you find the right angle, somewhere probably close to an Eastern grip, okay? Kind of closer to the shaking hands grip, and that's gonna let you square the ball up for the backspin.